Paltrocast.
Good morning. Are you dialing in from Ottawa today?
Dialing in from Westport. I'm at my day job right now, so I'm just trying to still be cool. I got to zip it up, get the fresh hoodie out. But yeah, I'm in Westport currently.
Secret burgers and secret day job.
Yes, yeah. Man, you know what it's like. It's the Canadian entertainment business, man. I don't think there's a single musician or artist that you like that isn't still flipping burgers.
That is a sad but true point. I think in Athens, Georgia, you'd see the same thing, Williamsburg, Brooklyn, etc. So, yes, you mentioned it outright there. Comedy is what you do, but you're a musical comic, but you're a podcaster, but you're pretty good on the social media. So, you're also kind of an influencer. What are you?
Uh, really depressed. So I feel like that's the best way to sum it up, man. I'm filling a hole that cannot be filled by social interaction and entertaining people. But it does, it numbs it a little bit. No, yeah, man. You know what? It's just I'm a reluctant influencer for sure. I do it only if I wasn't an entertainer, I would not have social media for sure. Like I would probably still just listen to FM radio. Like I would not. But it's the nature of the beast. You got to have some type of presence. So I think that the secret sauce is you need to have something in your story. You don't need to post every day, but you got to have something in your story every day. That lets people know that, like, okay, the lights are on somebody's home type of thing. So
I dig that your onstage comedy, which is reflected on your new album, is so different from what you say on your podcast. They're both you being honest. But for
yeah.
example, what you guys said about Russell Brand would
Oh
not go
God.
into your stand-up. So
Yeah.
is it kind of refreshing to know that you have an outlet for any kind of comedy that comes to mind, as opposed to being, well, this is what I'm known for, so this is all I can do?
Yes and no. To be honest, funny you should mention the podcast. Actually, we just had a meeting yesterday and talked about dissolving it. So that's so funny. Well, we're all best friends, and they know like what they say about going into business with your friends. Like you probably
Yes.
shouldn't do it, and it's yeah. But no, like the podcast is a lot of fun. It's fun to hang with the boys, but sometimes it does divulge into like three guys just saying whatever. And I am the quote unquote woke one of the podcast. This is not a label that I chose. This is just a label that has been given to me. So there's oftentimes like I'm sure when it pans to the wide camera and Kiam, the guy with the dreadlocks, when he's going off on something, I think you could see my eyes kind of get wide and glaze over a little bit because I'm kind of the mom of the group where I go, boys, we shouldn't be saying stuff like this. Like they were just protests. We don't need to be making comments like that. But
So if the podcast goes away, that's an extra, 2 to 8 hours a week that you have on hand. Would that more of
yeah.
that go into sleep, or would more of that go into other content and gigs?
Where it should go is into sleep. Where it's going to go is I'm actually so because music is still so special to me. I have a vision to start another pod. I had a podcast back in the day that was interviewing musicians, but now that I've had the experience talking to people and bombing on stage, I feel like I would be a better interviewer and a better hang on a podcast. So I'm thinking about firing that back up with with the experience that I've had over the last year of doing this other debaucherous experience.
Right. A lot of the musical comics these days are great guitar players. It's kind of hidden as to how good they are. Like, do you know, for example, Dave Hill?
Yeah, one of my favorites actually. Dave Hill is like because I love alt humor, and he like his videos where he's like listening to Pantera, giving the finger to the camera, and like doing the most basic jumps on a
Yeah.
bike. Oh man, that kills me.
So he's a legitimate lead guitarist, and I
Yeah,
would say Nick Thune is a great guitarist, etc. But the musical comics of yesteryear, I'm
yeah.
thinking were not actually good. They only played cowboy chords. They didn't go above the first
Right.
three frets. Or am I totally wrong about that?
Well, I mean, I think it depends. Like at the end of the day, the goal is to be funny. Like a lot of my influences are Tenacious D, Steel Panther, Flight of the Conchords. I love Weird Al, and all those guys can play. You know what I mean? Like that's sort of the thing. Like I do musical comedy because I think it's awful. Like it's like I have all these big influences that are like such great musicians, and like Jack Black can really sing, but he's also a comic. So it's like you put those two together, And I think a lot of people look at it because like you're looking at anybody who's made it. Whereas I see any Tom, Dick, or Harry that wants to get up on stage and is just like, well, this dad joke didn't work last night at the Comedy Store. I wonder if I put it in the key of G if it'll work. And it's like, no, you're missing the point, man. Like, okay, it's cool that you rhymed like, I don't know, that you rhymed like jerk with twerk, but like it's not that's not how it's about. You're supposed to be equal or comparable at both things, and then you put them together and you go on stage. I did stand up for a solid year before I brought the guitar on stage. Part of that was fear, but part of that was because no, I need to really I need to eat my vegetables. I need to really suffer and get semi decent at writing a joke before I can even think about putting these two things together, because I know what makes me laugh. I don't know what is going to resonate with an audience, and that dance, that like tightrope, is like constant, even in musical comedy. I mean, like I find my first thought tends to work the best when it comes to my songs. Like I don't tend to take it back to the drawing board very often. But I have I have a comedy band, and before I take any songs to them, I have to work us like tunes for a month before I'm like, okay, this is funny enough that if we do go into the studio, professionally record this, or do like a big concert with like lots of guitar solos and everything, the basis and the structure of the song is still funny. And you have people going, man, what a great tune. Did he just say what I think he just said? I think he just said what I think he just said. Like, that's kind of more what I'm leaning towards.
Got it. So that kind of leans into something I'm curious about. If the melody aspect is the hard part, or the material is the hard part for that, is that easy to answer?
Yeah, man. The material is like always the last thing that I think of. Like the song it has to be a good song first. It always has to be a good song first. You take any one of my tunes, change the lyrics, and they would still be like a decent song and structure and everything like that. Except for maybe Just Kidding. That one was solely written as like, because the comedy behind that is like how ridiculous it is and the act out and everything. But I'm not sure how clean this is supposed to be, so we don't have to divulge into the nature of Just Kidding. But that give it a listen. It's that one is very much written just to be like quote unquote typical musical comedy. But yeah, no, the song structure is what I put the most effort into, because this jokes can be replaced. Like if this certain rhyming scheme doesn't work, boom, I'll just like, how many jokes there are about like my Johnson that I could make. There's a billion, and I'm only 2 years into doing stand up. So like I'm sure there's a 2 billion more waiting for me down the line. Like I'll just go and replace these two lines, come back, see if it's funny. That's how we do it. So
Weird Al, who you mentioned before, not a lot of Johnson talk with him. He was always clean. Like
yeah.
he was always got bodily functions yet clean, if that made sense, because there's no cursing. Which era of Al did you get hooked in on?
Oh, well, I had a box set when I was a kid because I get a lot of my musical influence from my dad, who's not musical, but it's just like he's got OCD. So he had like this huge collection of music that was all in alphabetical order, all organized by genre. Like it could have been like a CD store. Like he had mini Sam the Record Man in my basement growing up. And
Sure.
he used to have these DVD box sets of like different artists performing live and like music video compilations. And that's where I got into Weird Al. Was he had this we had UHF, and then UHF came with a Weird Al music video box set, and then from there I got hooked on Bad Hair Day, and that was it from there. Like what the dentist one, numb me, fill me, oh man, drill me. That's comedy gold. You took that U2 song, comedy gold, man. Yeah.
The U2 song from the Batman Forever soundtrack. I do remember it was on
Yeah,
there.
yeah, man.
Exactly. Well,
Yeah. Man, that was a wild soundtrack too. Smashing Pumpkins had that the beginning is the end is the beginning that they remixed for the Watchmen, which I like the Watchmen version better, truthfully. But now I'm going in full tism now, dude. You saw the Chris Jericho t-shirt. I wanted to ask you about his band too. Like, all right, we're good. Hang on. So we're coming back. Comedy, right? Your interview. Yes, let's go.
oh, with his band, I go back and forth as to whether or not it's a good idea, whether or not it's a loss leader, because
Right.
they will musically have a really good idea, and then they'll musically have a really, really terrible idea. But the band started off as a cover band recording Judas Priest covers, and then somehow they
Right.
made the transition from that into originals. And the first few albums, the originals were lousy, and then they somehow
Yeah.
got kind of good. But I'm the kind of person that finds it hard to forgive the albums that are really bad and
Oh yeah.
when you get good. I don't know what's your take on all that.
Actually, this is a take that I'm recycling from an opinion John Mayer made once. I love when great artists release bad albums because, like, if your independent or your dependent variable is being number one, then your independent variable becomes anything and everything you'll do to have a number one hit, which leads your music to being like really successful but really stale. And then in the long run, I mean, geez, Hendrix is going to be like 100 years old. Like, God rest his soul. Like, if he had made it, he's going to be like 100 years old in less than 20 years. And we're
Mhm.
still like, he still has yet to be dethroned. Like, him and Eddie Van Halen are still like the top tier. And it's like, these guys would be in their 80s now, you know? Like, it's what do you like? They're still the gods of rock and roll, the gods of playing guitar. And it's like you don't have that with those artists where it's like, no, it's got to be number one. It's got to be number one, got to be number one. Whereas if you have someone like Bob Dylan, who like had that weird era where he's like, I think I want Jerry Garcia to play the guitar for me, and I want to just release rock songs. And it's like, that was a stinker for sure. I mean, I like Surf Somebody and stuff like that, but like that era of Dylan was a stinker for sure. But Dylan was a guy who took chances creatively and is still renowned as like the great. I mean, it's almost more famous now to be like, yeah, I went to go see Bob Dylan and he refused to play any song that was a hit. It's like, what an
Yeah.
icon, you know? Like what an animal. I love that.
This might be the first interview I've ever done where the person referenced Van Halen before I did. So congratulations on that one.
Right on, dude. Oh, I'm a shredder, man. Like don't let the G chords confuse you, all right? As much as I love jazz harmony, I like tapping through jazz harmony more than I like the chords, but yeah.
Credit to you. I'm a fan of the music and the comedy with Logan Brown. But I mean, back to you here. What do the next few months look like career wise? Are we allowed to know, or can you use the scapegoat of, well, due to the American strikes, I'm not comfortable of saying what's coming up?
Nah, dude. I just showed you my work uniform. I have yet to sign an NDA of any merit. No, so the plan is now that I've got the band, we've got a show. Our debut show is coming up on the 29th of October. So it'll be at Live on Elgin, in Ottawa. And then we've got a couple of shows like here or there. We got, one's my birthday on the 14th of March at the comedy club I recorded the album at. Another one we've got like Cornwall area, Alexandria. And we're just like, I'm really trying to, all roads lead to the band and the band going off and doing its thing. While stand up is still a vessel for that. So I'm still like working on and writing jokes and everything. But all of that is leading towards the band. So like over the next couple months, the plan is to get into the studio, record a record to accompany, because I've got the special coming out in December. So while that's kind of still got some buzz around it, I'm going to record all the songs plus some unreleased stuff in the professional studio, get that out there as an LP, and then tour that hopefully. So we're gonna go to, like, we'll hit the major cities like Toronto, Montreal. I want to go to Halifax and stuff like that. So again, it's all dependent on this is the hardest part about being in a band. It's like one of the guys just got kids. They're both full-time musicians and teachers, and it's like, okay, boys, when you get your summer vacation, let me know when we can hit the road. But yeah, if that doesn't work, then I'll just do some solo stuff or just find some sidemen or whatever. But yeah, it's all roads are leading towards doing the full band thing, because I view myself as an entertainer before anything else. Like even before musician or comedian, as much as I love those things and those respective arts, what drives me is entertaining. That's why I got a day job during the pandemic rather than started live streaming and being, oh, thanks Ronnie 69 for the flowers. I don't what is rock and roll about that? Like, I have never had it, like, no disrespect to anybody. Like, you got to do what you got to do, and the whole world shut down, and we needed to make music. So God bless those people. I've never had a poster of a Twitch streamer in my bedroom. You know what I mean? Like, it was like I had Alice in Chains posters and Slash and like Van Halen. Not once was I like, that guy who plays World of Warcraft, Ninja. Yeah, let me put him up on there. That's not happening.
I hear you. Well, the free advice on the touring, take this one from John Bon Jovi, is when somebody goes, "Hey, we want Bon Jovi to do this lucrative corporate gig," supposedly, allegedly, he'll be like, "Bon Jovi can't, but John Bon Jovi and the Kings of Suburbia can for this reduced price." So in other words,
Oh,
you have the Logan Brown reduced price band with the people who don't have the kids.
yes, yeah, smart. That is smart,
E-band.
actually. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Well, it's all I'm flying it all under the banner of Logan Brown and the Daddies. So it's like I like that it is a band. Like I've offered the guys like full-time positions in the role. But I mean, if I gotta hire a couple guys, I gotta hire a couple guys. It's not a big deal. Like they're sidemen professionally, so like they understand the way she goes. Sometimes it's just the way she goes, and as much as it would hurt me because I love jamming with those guys, like a Logan Brown show can still happen as long as Logan Brown's still there. But with regards to that corporate thing, though, that is smart because I definitely don't want to fly my banner if I'm doing like a crappy Christmas party for RBC or something like that in the near future. So
Yeah, have the second tier ban and let everyone know it's the second tier
yeah,
Logan. But, well, two quick questions and then I'll let you go. And the first one is anytime I interview Canadian icon Danko Jones, I inquire about his
love Danko
obsession.
Jones, dude. Love Danko. Sorry, man.
Everyone should.
This is
That is
full of
the
this is full of caffeine, man. Sorry. Like,
when people talk about rock being dead, it's like, have you listened to Danko Jones? What do you come on? So he's
yeah.
obsessed with Three's Company and on and off has had a Three's Company related podcast. Is there a show that you could potentially do a podcast along those lines of that you're that obsessed with?
Oh, albums for sure. Shows, I don't know. I mean, like I could probably do a very short-lived podcast on Tim Robinson's I Think You Should Leave.
Oh yeah.
I think that analyzing the humor there and what makes that so good, and also being someone with autism, like why this is the perfect autistic comedy. Like, oh man, that's like that. Yeah, absolutely. I think I could do a very short-lived deep dive into that for sure.
Yeah, it's only like 20 episodes, 24 episodes or something like
Yeah,
that. It's a very short series. Last question ties in with
yeah.
that. Every time the wife and I start a new TV show, we watch it in 3 days and we go, "Oh, what's next?" Figured I'd ask a genius comic like yourself any show recommendations, anything that we should be watching in the Paltrowitz household.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, my most recent show recommendation would be Tim Robinson's I Think You Should Leave. Movie recommendations. I don't know if you've seen Everything Everywhere All at Once. That was one of those movies got a lot of Oscar hype, so I was like, nah, I'll wait. And totally worth the hype. That movie made me cry, made me laugh and cry at the same time. Probably crap my pants at one point. Like it was just one of the like bodily fluids just coming out left, right, and center, dude. Before you let me go, I have a funny John Bon Jovi story for you, if that's okay, if we got time.
Please, please.
All right, cool. My first band was like a post-grunge metal band. And we were like, we were 13, 14. We got into the studio, recorded a really crappy record. And we are huge fans of Phil X, who is from Toronto and now plays guitar for Bon Jovi. So this was pre-Bon Jovi. He was just doing the Fred Americana thing. Was very easy to get a hold of. He had his email at the top corner of every video. So we sent him an email with one of our songs. We were just like, hey man, what do you think of this? Now Phil X, love the guy. I don't think he knew we were 14 and sent us back this huge email, just like the singing's off key, the lyrics suck, the production's so crap. Like, this sucks. Like, I would fire your drummer and hire a robot. Like, what are you guys doing? And then at the very end was just like, cool guitar solo though that I played, and I went, Bon Jovi's guitar player likes my playing, dude. It was like I was rolling, man. So I'll take Bon Jovi advice any day of the week just because of that.
I'll take Phil X advice any day of the week. The guy can play hot for teacher and not flinch. So
oh yeah, man. Yeah, and without tapping too. He'll pick the whole thing. I don't know. He's an alien, man. He's an alien. He doesn't need this. His coffee's like that. That's what he's got instead of blood, dude. It's just like straight drip.
I mean, again, Canadian icon. Anyone who says rock is dead, talk to Phil X, talk to Danko Jones, and talk to Logan Brown.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
Paltrocast.